Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode. It is episode 488 of, Brian Bundy's here too. Cleveland in the house. It's good to have everybody. It is a very humid day down in South Alabama where I am, but Ann is in outside of Richmond, Virginia. In Petersburg is where she teaches, but Ann.Ford has been on the show before, a long time friend. And what? This is number 4.
It was probably episode 4.
Oh, yes. Yes. And you've done camp, you've done power station, you've done everything. And I super appreciate it. And you're a good roomie to go to conferences with. So lots of great things. But Ann has been my friend for longer than I did the show. Right? We were friends before I started the show, but I want you to give everybody a little bit of your background. I think you have a great story overall because you started school later. And so there's this other story that we're not even going to talk about today, but Hannah's here too. Hannah, good to see you.
Hi, Hannah.
So give them a little bit of your background, and then we are really talking about healing today. And you had a big health thing, and you're going to tell us about that. So first, tell us who you are, where you are, what you do.
Ann Ford. I'm an associate professor of graphic design at Virginia State University. I've been there for 16 years. This is the first year in 9 years I haven't been the chair of the department. So it's a little different. I'm enjoying being back in the classroom again. I have my own company, which has been kind of on the back burner since I've been a chair, that I hope to bring back to the forefront a little bit soon. As Diane said, I was a late bloomer. I started college when I was 30. So everything that I've accomplished with design has been in the past 30 years.
And she's written books on package design. Like, when you were here, I was like, why didn't I have you? I have this one, which this is, and I don't know why I didn't have you sign it. I don't know why. And look at it, I have Post-its all in it. Anyway, but there are more books than just that are about packaging. So if you didn't know, she's great on packaging. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about healing, because why don't you just take us in? Can you share your screen, and I'll say hey to Jen. Jen is here. She's in Mobile too. It's great to see you, Jen. So you had been struggling with illness that nobody could define or nobody could give they just kind of rolled it over, right? That was pretty serious.
Okay, so this is a really personal story. Last week before last was the first time I spoke about it in public. So I'm still kind of, this is still a little raw, but living with a severe illness presents a lot of different problems, both physically and emotionally. And the journey to diagnosis and treatment and recovery can be extremely overwhelming, and often leaves us with feelings of isolation and vulnerability. So when times like this, the power of creative expression through art emerges as a transformative kind of tool for healing and coping with this serious illness. And so this presentation is an examination of my exploration through this healing process through art. And the impact of how it helped me navigate through all of my health issues. So by sharing the story and exploring the psychological insights of practical strategies, participants will understand how to creative expression can be powerful. So first of all, I've suffered with abdominal pain probably most of my life. I can pinpoint it back to when I was probably in my early teens, remembering having this pain. And the doctors could never find anything. when I was younger, it was an ulcer, or it was you're eating this, or it's something to do with your duodenum, or it's this, that, and the other. And nobody really could really pinpoint anything. And then as I got a little bit older, the doctors were saying, well, you have some non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Just lose a little bit of weight. It'll get better. Like acting like it wasn't a big deal and, you know, go from there. So after seeing multiple doctors in the Richmond area, I had no answers. And my PCP suggested I go to
What's PCP mean? Primary care
primary care
physician?
physician.
Oh,
Mhm.
my mom's still here. Not that she probably would have known what she probably would have known, but
So he
But this is
suggested,
years. This is not, and this is decades you're dealing with this,
yeah, this
right?
is decades. This is like all of my adult life, like up until 2020, no, yeah, 2021. So, well, actually, now it's still not gone away. It's still there. Uh, so my primary care physician said, well, why don't you go to one of these diagnostic hospitals? So I decided to go to the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. And so after seeing multiple doctors and being tested and retested and tested again, and the first doctor I saw was a liver specialist, and she looks at me and she said, "Well, you have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease." And I, rolled my eyes and said, "Okay, yeah, uh-huh," thinking, "Oh, here we go again." And she was like, "No, you don't understand. This is uh, extremely serious."
And nobody had said that to you before.
Nobody had ever said that to me. And around this time, we were still face to face at VC, or we were not face to face at VSU, and so we were still remote. Still trying to run a department and teach classes remotely, and because we were out quite a little bit longer than most everybody else was. So everything started spiraling out of control. Like right all around this time, this was really taking a severe uh, toll on my emotional, physical health. So, so I had that appointment in September of 2021. And I saw, I don't know, maybe 5 different doctors in that whole week I was there, and multiple tests. So, a little bit about non alcoholic fatty liver disease. It is considered a silent killer. So, it's mainly people who don't have, don't drink alcohol, right? And that are a bit overweight. And so, I had struggled with weight all my life. And so, this was not really, I wasn't really I wasn't real concerned about it because they said, oh, everybody's got a little bit of it. So this is kind of what the stages of liver disease looks like.
But this was the first time somebody said, no, you could die if you
Right.
don't make changes, right?
Right. So when she started talking about this, she was like, you've got a life-threatening liver disease. You have what they call NASH, which they call it MASH now, but and it's a hepatocellular disease that can lead to cancer, hepatocellular cancer. Okay. And it's the leading cause of liver transplants. And so it's when you get significant scar tissue. So you see a healthy liver here and then fatty liver. Mine was fibrosis at this point. Okay. I was beyond fatty liver. I was already into fibrosis, and I was baby steps away from cirrhosis. And so while I was there getting all these tests, they were like, well, you've got to lose 20% of your body weight.
Which is a lot.
Right. Yeah. Think about it. You guys do add 20% of what your body weight is, and then think about losing that. And being significantly overweight, that was a lot of weight. So I, that alone, and they said, well, you can't do this without weight loss surgery. And I'm like, great, great, great. So I came home and didn't know what to do. Traveling back and forth to Minnesota, every 4 to 6 months was not possible financially or professionally. And doctors at Mayo are like, you need to lose this weight now. You can't wait. You have to have this weight loss surgery. And not to mention that they did all of the testing required for a liver match because they thought my liver would go before I could lose this weight. So when I got home, VCU Health had announced this, liver institute. And don't ask me to say these guys' names.
It's okay.
But and it was kind of like, oh, this came out in the news. It was like within a few days of me getting back from Minnesota. And I was like, well, I'm going to make an appointment, right? This was September of 21. I didn't get in until May of 22.
Wow.
So in the meantime, I was trying to lose weight, struggling with it. When I went and saw the doctor on May 16th, 2022 at the Liver Institute, she was very concerned. And she too said I needed to lose weight. And again, the only way to do it was weight loss surgery. Well, there's a wrinkle in that because with the insurance I'm on with the Commonwealth of Virginia, I had to go through a year of psychiatric therapy before they would pay for it. So my liver transplant specialist sent me to the VCU Health Weight Loss Clinic. And there I met this amazing doctor. And I got an appointment the very same day. I literally left the office of the liver specialist. And by the time I got to the car, my phone was ringing and it was this office calling me to get in there. So I went that day. And she specializes in weight loss. And at the time, we put a plan in place to lose weight as quickly as possible. But the two doctors that day said this to me, both of them said, they looked at me and said, if you don't take some time off and reduce your stress, you're going to die. That was a wake-up call. So,
but easier said than done. Teaching, being chair, you have a lot of responsibilities.
So I came home. Yeah, big wake-up call. All I could do was cry. I had a stressful job and responsibilities, and I couldn't ignore any of that. And so I came home that day and called the provost and spoke to him about what was going on. And at this time, I had not told anybody. No one knew. I had put in for some time off, some research leave, but I didn't put in for medical leave. I basically just put in for some research leave just so I could reduce my stress a little bit. So I didn't want, he wanted me to start that day. And I was like, I had too many things to finalize for the semester and get ready. So Alasia, that was the fall semester I took off. And so this is where the collage comes in. Okay. So I'm going to start playing it. Where'd it go?
I don't know. I don't see it. There it is.
How do you make this one full screen? Kevin.
Well, there you go.
Okay. So I'm just going to play through this.
Will you just move your mouse so it's not on top of it? Okay, thanks.
I'm just going to play through this and talk a little bit before, about what was going on.
And these are digital. You started off digitally.
Well, yeah, I started off, and I'm going to talk about that. But okay. So before the conversation and after returning from the Mayo, I began to do some collage work. I'd been collecting ephemera for years, magazines, newspapers, objects, printed materials, things like that. And I started doing physical collage, and I'd started it several years ago, but my son and his children and wife and children were living with us, and I just didn't really have any place to spread out. And so I began working digitally. And especially after Photoshop came out with the Photoshop for the iPad. So I could carry this iPad with me. I had all this digital ephemera and images and things like that. And then I was able to use things I'd purchased from Creative Market and some other sites, plus the Adobe stock. And So this is kind of was my healing thing. I had been working with Diane on a group where we were doing her, what was
Or
it called?
station.
Yeah, conversation. And I was trying to figure out a way to make money. Like, so I was trying to redo my website and things like that so that I could get some clients so that if something happened, I had to like have a liver transplant and be off work for a while. I could like, uh, have some income coming in. And this group encouraged me to show this, and I showed it and kind of shared a little bit of the story. And they encouraged me to continue. So I kind of started doing this, and honestly, it's what got me through. I was able to escape and not think about anything else. And to answer before anybody asks, there was nothing about these that I planned. They were all spontaneous. I would just sit down, and it depended on what music I was listening to, what mood I was listening to, and or what mood I was in. And um, some of them started when they started off, they were really dark. And you can tell, like when I went back looking through all of this, I could really see where um, the days that I was in a lot of pain or stressed out or something like that that they had a different feel. And I talked about going back through and maybe changing some of them up. And then I was like, no, this was something I did for me. They were really never meant to be shared um, because it was just my healing, part. So there are over 200 of these from May of 2022 through, wow, actually, I have probably 5 or 6 new ones that I've done in the past week and a half.
Because it's something that you're coming back to all the time. Again, what I love is that it's this purpose of creating, which how often do we just do this? I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I am not creating for I didn't used to create for me very much. I always kind of had like, well, I can use this for this client. And so, but when Ann shared this, it was like, wow, she was, and color combinations, things that maybe we wouldn't be able to see, or maybe there's this storyline, or maybe it's just in her head, or um, she's just bringing things, textural things, or this is what was like so freeing to me. I actually think collage is really difficult. I love collage, but it can be, I don't know if this would have been my safe place to go because I am too hard on myself. So I actually that you are able to do this with collage and that you are just full force. So you did a ton digitally, you still do digitally, but you also started incorporating. At what point did you start incorporating um analog?
It was probably about a year ago. I got into my studio, which is where I am right now, and kind of organized everything so that I could spread out and just be able to play with things and not have to put them up right away. Right. I was doing them in the living room, and I had to clean it up all the time. And I was like, this is pain. So I came in here and kind of started organizing things. And then I started, my space behind me. I left it like I had when I was working on it the other day, where things are just kind of spread out. Um, and and then I saw this post on Instagram where somebody was doing collage in board books. And if you don't know what a board book is, it's a children's books are made out of board. So they're kind of thick. And I really liked that idea. So I was like, well, I'm going to buy me a board book and see what that does. Because prior to that, I was just using a sketchbook. And so now I'm on, well, I've got one finished, one almost finished, one, and I'll talk about it in a minute. I'll show you. One was a little bigger, and so I had some trouble with it. Um, I, I struggled with it a little bit, but I'm enjoying that part where I started with the physical, and a lot of the physical came about from organizing my workspace and going through all of those. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many boxes of ephemera I have. I mean, it's just box after box after box. And then I also have, when I went to Italy between my first and second year of grad school, I have 7,000 pictures. A lot of that's being incorporated in here. Some of the, I love to draw type. And so I have a whole sketchbook of nothing but type lettering. And so I'm incorporating some of that in here. And so all of that's kind of coming into it. And then this one there on the left is from a sheet from Hoosier Press, where it was just an offsheet of the press that, a test print. And I got a few of those and kind of incorporated that in there. And I mean, there's just a lot of different things. There's brushes, there's multiple layers. Yeah, so it's just a lot of different pieces that are put together. This is another Hoosier type piece. But I can't stop. I can't stop it. Like there are days that I can't wait to get in here and play around, or I can't wait to pick up my iPad and start doing it again, because it's just so freeing.
Yeah. Okay. So Kevin and I both he said, yeah, and spontaneity is pretty amazing. I would have overthought these and not been able to complete them so regularly. So how were you able for this to be able to just turn off that kind of critical thinking, and just because you really got into a play state?
I was going to get in there. Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, to be quite honest with you, I can't. All I know is that I sat down, and most of the time I had headphones in, and I was just trying to escape from reality. And it was just really difficult to do that. And this is really all I could find. Like, I couldn't read. I love to read. I couldn't read. Even watching TV was a point where it was just like, I couldn't focus.
Right.
I sat down to do this. I could focus. And I really enjoyed what I was doing. So to wrap things up after this whole experience, mainly with the digital collage, I didn't really start physical collage until maybe a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, I've lost 85 pounds.
Yay.
My fat in my liver is almost gone.
So you've reversed.
I've reversed the fatty part. And I'm working on reversing the fibrosis. Now, that is the only part that has not gotten better. But I also met with another doctor at VCU Health that was determined. She was a resident fellow. She was trained to be a gastroenterologist, and she actually found the source of my pain. So the pain that I have had since I was a teenager that nobody else could find. And that alone was just like, it was like I realized, I finally said, well, I guess I'm not crazy after all. Or I do have this pain. So I have this pain for the rest of my life, and there's really nothing that can be done about it besides surgery, and surgery hasn't been successful. So, but other than, all my liver functions are normal, all my blood tests are normal. The only thing that we're still watching is the fibrosis in my liver, and we're going to test that again in March.
So stress-wise, this just, and it, for anybody who's maybe going through this, is what I kept thinking, and somebody might be dealing with this. They might have some weird disease that nobody can pinpoint, or maybe they've been told the same thing about fatty liver. Oh, just lose some weight, it'll be fine. That it actually is more serious, and that the stress on top of it doesn't help. I love that you didn't think you're like, I'm going to do art therapy, but that's really what it became, was this regular place to retreat. And I think they're amazing, beautiful. I'm like, ooh, I would like that one. I would like to buy that one. And I've talked to her about this a lot. And she's like, you tell them
Well,
what you would say.
they were never really meant to be shared. Like Diane convinced me to do an Instagram 30-day thing, and I shared them for 30 days, and I cringed every time. And I don't know why, um, other than they weren't made for anybody but me. So, and then a lot of it is, um, I used like stock images and things like that I have to go back in and purchase, and going back through all that is just too much. So kind of moving into the physical is more, it's, if I decide to sell them, then that's probably the way I'll go rather than the digital. Although I do have a lot of digital scans that I can make digital ones out of, which I have one on here.
But it's about being strategic on, okay, these are in the past, and now these are all things I own, or these are all things I've purchased, or I've scanned from things that I've collected. Now I'm going to make things, and these are available for purchase, or available for maybe somebody wants to put it on a sketchbook, or a book cover, or whatever. Like, then you're able to do more of that. But in the beginning, it was healing. It was not. And I love that it was just for Anne. And I love looking at them for sure. But I totally get that wasn't the purpose. And sometimes I think it's really important to make things for the purpose of ourselves. Like, I think we forget. I don't know about y'all. Maybe you can put in the chat if you think, or if you're watching on YouTube later. Right. I never make art for myself, for myself, or I do, like, I think that maybe sometimes we don't prioritize that. And I know for sure that's an Anne issue, that's a Diane issue. But how did this help you prioritize you?
It kind of made me stop and rest, which I hadn't done. I was going 90 miles an hour, you know.
Because you feel responsible and you wanted to do a good job, and you didn't want to let anybody down.
Right. And, I was responsible for a department, a lot of students and faculty. And that's a lot that most, excuse me, most faculty don't understand until they're in that position. And to have been in it for as long as I was, it had just taken its toll on me. And I loved what I did, but also this time I took off, and this process of this basic collage therapy is I did learn how to put myself first. And if nothing else, then that's something that, if anybody gets anything out of this, is that I was the worst at that. I was the worst at putting myself first. And I can still remember Diane telling me, when I was doing that website that was just killing me, that she goes, "What makes you happy when you're doing it?" And I said, "Collage." And she said, "Then you should do collage." And it was after that, so she has a lot to do with this too. It was her support that kind of pushed me into this. Okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm really going to just give myself the time and sit back and enjoy it. And making time for ourselves is really bad.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. So, it's kind of like you've got to take this time. And I may never have gotten here without that diagnosis.
Right, because you weren't putting yourself first. And I mean, you had the materials for the collage. You had been storing them. So I do like that you took some time. Was it in that fall semester that you organized everything?
Partially, yeah. In between, like I've told, I was probably at the doctor's office probably 1 or 2 days a week during that time off, um, for one test or another. Wanting to put me in clinical trials and things like that. But that was really scary. Um, and I look back and I think, as much as I love what I do and I love my students, um, we have to not do this to ourselves. We have to like learn to let go a little bit and allow some time for ourselves. And I don't. It doesn't have to be even art. It could be reading a book or going for a walk or whatever. So I try to encourage the students to actually do that. Is give themselves some time to play. They need time to play because we forget how to play when we become
Yeah.
adults.
We just are trying to make it make money or make it help us to get to that next step. But if we aren't around to take that next step, it is really hard. So Elijah says, "We love you too, Mama Ford," with 4 D's. Ford. Da, 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 da. I
Yeah.
love that. So why do you think? Because I think you could tell me, because you know me well, and you could be like, Diane, you're not taking enough time for yourself. Um, what would you tell somebody who, because I really do believe you and I both have said, I just can't. I cannot stop. I've heard you say those words. So what would you say? Because I think doing the collage was, you were like, I can fit this in. This isn't that difficult. And I'm not doing it for any reason. I'm just gonna, it's like playing a game maybe on your phone or your iPad, but instead you're making something. And I actually think art, instead of just getting to another level in a game, which I think sometimes games fun. My husband always gives me a hard time when I play certain games, um, but I think sometimes it is actually the making, the creation part that is part of that healing. And then you had to be bold to show it to our group. And then you had to
Right.
be really bold to show it to the people at the conference.
Yeah,
Can
it
you
was
talk a little bit about that?
that was rough. Um, I was wore out the rest of the day after that because it was kind of like Diane, you encouraged me to share the story because of it could reach someone else to do the same thing. Um, and so I got to a point where I made the decision I was going to do it, and then I submitted it to a paper and it got accepted, and then I was like, well, I got to do it now. So um, and and at first I was like, why would anybody want to hear about this? Why would anybody want to know about my story and my personal journey and whatever? But I guess if it helps one person, then it's worth it. And so, but Diane, you and I both have the same problem about not making time. But I will say that that month I took off um, was a time where I kind of got in a habit. And so if I went a couple days without doing one, I was like, I need to go do this. It was something was pulling me,
Mm-hmm.
and it still does. It'll pull me to, I want to be in here,
Right.
working instead of, you know,
So I think starting something that is a small little challenge to get you in that habit, or even if it's just like a it's just something you're doing for you, something that again is easy because you started out with digital. You were using Photoshop. You knew how to use Photoshop, so it was an old tool. You knew how to use the iPad, and you were just playing, um, and not for a purpose. And it may have started as like 15 minutes, but sometimes you would, and you've talked about this,
hours would
hours.
hours would go by. And I would look up and go, oh my gosh, I've been sitting here for like 2, 3 hours and not realize it. Um,
That's that flow state. I think people, so, if you're a reader, and hours go by, then maybe it is reading, maybe it's writing, maybe it's something completely else. I think like Brandy's here, she's an awesome writer, but sometimes it's hard to do the writing if it's for you or if it's for something that's fun. You don't feel like you should spend time doing that. But I think that this is where, yes, Anne was losing weight. She was going to doctor's appointments, but this actually was a big part of healing. I mean, in this amount of time when she's working full time, minus this one semester, of course, my nose is running, but I have a tissue, an old tissue. Anyway, I mean, it's not a dirty tissue, thankfully, but it's been on my desk a long time. Anyway, but like it's what could we do, little things to help create that habit of healing? And I think sometimes you have to figure out what that is. So to me, collage, I love collage. It is way hard. I think it's hard. It's probably not that for me, but man, you give me some scissors and paint and I can cut out some things. That is my thing. Like, how many watermelons do we need? We don't need as many as I made, but I just really have fun making things and I like to do things. So that would be mine, but I have tried many other things and I definitely draw. I would like to do collage. And it is very inspiring to me to see the different passes and one beautiful thing about you doing it in Photoshop is that it can convert over to the computer easy, but you also have your layers. It wasn't like she had to learn another program because she already knew, right? I think you got to make it easy. So one of the things about digital is that you had two grandkids in your house. You had your son and daughter-in-law, and you still found a way to explore and make time for this. So in the beginning, how much time? I said, how did you carve out your time when your schedule was so tight? Like that's hard. It's not like you had a huge house. So these kids were all around. You want to spend time with your grandkids, but you also needed, like, how did you do that?
It was usually at night when they went to bed, after they went to bed, and after I went to bed, because I would take the iPad to bed with me, and kind of where that was my quiet place.
Yeah.
And that's how I carved out time then. then after that, after we moved into this house, it was more weekends, Saturdays, Sundays.
You started spending more time on your off days. Like, would you start in the morning and then it would end up being lunchtime and you're like, oh my goodness, where did the time go?
Well, no, I would probably do the stuff I needed to get done around the house first, and then
First.
sit down with it and then play. But I still do it in the evenings.
Okay. All right. So talk a little bit about the process. So since you work both analog and digital, when do you start on paper and use traditional? And I love that you have two different size books. You got frustrated with one size. You started themes, and maybe that again, you have to try lots of things and figure out what works for you. But I guess I'm just encouraging everybody. I hope you make some time to play and make some art, right? Whatever the art is, whether it's with words or whether it's music or whatever. But most of us are visual people. So, okay, where would you start?
I usually just start with, and I'll just go with this one.
Okay.
I'll turn the layers off real quick.
And what would be the difference? So when did you start working more analog as opposed to digital?
It's kind of similar. I'll put something down on the background, and usually it covers the entire background. This particular one was some ephemera that I had scanned in. I think it's from 1940, some hand letters that I had got some ephemera. And then I'll add something else. And then
then are you just going through how are they organized? Like, how are your files organized that you're going through? Like, I'm looking for brown, or is it, I'm looking for something with hair, or like.
They are literally.
It's in stuff.
So birds and my hand lettering and Amy's Art Deco toolkit
Amy's here.
and so it's just in here. And
So
then
not by color, it's just
oh,
by subject, kind of. So if you were starting with this letter, then you went to the other book cover, like where would you have gone? Was it just backgrounds?
no, I kind of know where everything is.
Because you go through them
Uh,
enough.
yeah, and so where is my master downloads file here?
Master downloads. That sounds like master downloads.
There.
There we go.
So
We all
Adobe
have files like that though.
Adobe stock. So the stuff that's not in a folder is new. All right. So
Hmm.
I haven't gone through yet. But
Oh.
then I have background, ephemera, handwriting, holiday illustrations. And so the backgrounds mostly are stuff like this.
Hmm.
They're kind of solid
Hmm.
areas, right?
Would you start with something like that
Yeah.
sometimes?
Normally I
Okay.
start with this one.
Okay.
But this one, this was because after we were talking when we were at CCAC, I was like, I'm going to go make something that I own that's in
Right.
my everything here is something that I have rights to, that I wouldn't have to go buy rights to.
Right.
And so that's kind of where this one came from. Now,
Hmm.
these here are just brushes.
Right. And you can buy brushes like that, right?
All right. So that's what this one is. Okay. This one started with a background.
What about those buntings? I love that.
There's a lot of layers on this one.
Is the buntings, is that like something you purchased that was already clipped out?
This,
No, the buntings, those little paper triangles that you put across a party thing.
okay. Yes, that was an image. So I started this as a background image, but notice this is all Adobe stock, right?
That's Adobe
What?
stock. Oh, that okay.
All of this is Adobe stock. So
Okay.
what I can do is I can go back if I wanted to I could go back in and purchase all this because I left them as Adobe stock images so
So you
that
can get the number and go buy it if you
I
needed
can go
to.
back
Oh,
and look.
that's a good idea. So Hannah says, is the ripped paper scanned in that way or did you tear it in Photoshop? Again, this is also, if you didn't want to buy that, you could create some of these might, what I love also is that it gives you ideas for something that you also could create on your own, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and the paper was torn already. And so then I just started building an image in this piece. Oh, wait a
So
minute.
sometimes when I'm doing collage, I feel bad for the things that I'm covering up. Do you ever feel bad about the
Sometimes,
mushroom?
sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but then it gives it a little bit of mystery.
Yeah. Yeah.
These are all brushes. I usually go back in with brushes towards
At the
the
end.
uh,
Okay.
add a texture usually to give it some kind of texture.
When the texture gives it continuity all the way through.
So that's that one. And
I
then
love that one.
this is one that I was going to use for
The presentation.
the presentation. And then I was like, I didn't end up using it. But so this is what fatty liver disease looks like. Now it's kind of grayed out. And I'll show you another one that's got more details. But then I got these pictures of women grabbing their abdomens and this feeling of wrinkles and then I've just started adding things that kind of made things I felt like things I was just feeling at the time. And so that's kind of what that one is. Like you can see there at the end.
What about layer 4? Oh,
All right. This one is, you can see this. That's what that's what
oh
fatty
yeah.
is like on a scan. So I put that in there and put in self-care. There's multiple layers in here too. But that one was like, kind of trying to use something that kind of felt like This one, I intentionally didn't turn anything. I left everything either vertical, horizontal.
But sometimes they weren't about fatty liver. They could have been about nothing. Like you were just like this, you want to start with this color, or there are some ones that you had done in the beginning that were kind of darker because it was how you were feeling, right?
Right.
And I think that was important that it didn't have to have, you weren't trying to tell a story. You may have a story now as you see things together, but you were just pulling things. It was just intuitive, right?
Right. So this is the back of the board book. So this is the cover. So anybody wants to know what a board book?
Size wise.
Yeah. This is what the size of it is. Right.
And how many pages? So a board book's usually for little kids, like I don't know, kids who are teething or I don't know. I didn't
How
ever have.
thick the pages are.
And so what would you do? You would get a book, and then how would you do? Would you just
I
start gluing on top of it?
No, I ripped all the stuff that was on it, and so it left this really kind of rough texture. You can see it in the picture really well.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would go through with some ink and a brush and then kind of distress it a little bit and make it look a little bit distressed. So, um, so this is the spread of the
So
cover.
that's the back, back cover, front cover.
And then
I like that. Don't look back. You're not going that way.
yeah. So this is kind of like I started with this tear piece of paper.
So what kind of paper? So this is where I'm like, oh, I don't want to use all my good stuff, because then I might want to use it later. Or so would you scan things when you're working digitally? It's not that bad, but would you use like scrapbook paper or were you using?
Some of it is, some of it isn't. Some of it's stuff I purchased.
Okay.
Um, and I have a whole tote full of scraps of paper. Some things I've scanned in, some things I haven't.
Mm-hmm.
This is not necessarily scanned in. A lot of stuff I bought as old looking ephemera so that it would give it this antique look, which is something I was going after
Mm-hmm.
at the time. I just felt like it was something that spoke to me, so I kept it.
So from
This is scrapbook paper.
okay.
So it's paper that I bought at Michael's.
Mm-hmm.
It's just textured.
But some things look see-through. Like, are you using washi tape or is it just kind of a clear or
Some of it's washi tape.
semi-transparent?
Some of
Okay.
it's washi tape. This is a stencil.
Oh, okay.
This is a stencil. Some I've been using like stamps. I use some stamps on things.
Because you're still getting that kind of brush technique that you would do at the end.
Right, so
Yeah.
this is a stencil. And then these are just little, like, they were on this sheet of like stickers I got, and I just cut them out. And and some of it, this is washi tape. This is washi tape.
What about that fragile?
That is something that was in this. Well, no, that might be washi tape too. But I also had this box of ephemera somebody gave me that had these strips of like stickers that you put on like prescription bottles and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of interesting. So this was some paper that I purchased. This ABC, the type. And then and there was this one. This was the first one. This is a sticker.
Okay. So you're not doing any hand drawing on these yet.
Not yet. I have on the other things that I have done in the sketchbook, but not on this.
Which I like that you've taken baby steps in doing some of those things.
Right. So then where does it go? These, that are relatively new. This is the new one I'm working on. So I haven't cleaned these up at all. So you can see the background is
But
theirs.
this is your table over there. But this is, again, physical collage.
Right. And so you can see like these have a little bit more texture to them. They're a little thicker.
Mm-hmm. Die cut kind of things. And some
Mhm.
look still, so you're specifically choosing things that can be see or have a transparency in them. Have you thought about using Letraset in these?
Yeah. In fact, I was talking to the woman who spoke at, oh, this one needs a better picture, and spoke at CCAC. And I'm going to order some through Etsy. So, but so then there's then that's this one, and this is not done yet, but since I did those, I've done these in the past few days.
Well, now we got to see it. We got to stop the share so we can see it. Hang on. Oh, there you go. Now hold them up. So, like, how long would something like this take you?
I did
Do you finish one spread in one sitting?
usually. This one I started and I had to go to physical therapy and came back and finished it. And then this one took maybe an hour or so.
Are you
Um,
like moving it around before you glue it? And what do you use
Sometimes,
for
yeah.
glue?
And sometimes I just put it there and just say, okay, that's where it's going to be.
Okay. So there's some of this giving up control that we usually do in design that you're embracing.
Right. And then there was this one that was the bigger size. And I struggled with it because, well, this is where the first time I took a theme. So I took some of this paper that I had purchased and decided to use it throughout. And so I laid it down first and then started working. And this one feels like it's overworked. And
But you tried a new process.
yeah. And so I didn't know if it was the putting it down first, or if it was the size of this book. But what I did was I scanned these and I'm starting to work on them digitally. So I thought, well, maybe if I can't get them where I want them here, maybe if I scan them digitally and start working on top of them.
Okay, so do you think you sit down every day to do some collage, either physically or digitally? Or how
Yes,
often? You think it's every day?
I try to do it every day.
Okay.
Not always can I get it done. Like sometimes I might only sit down for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. But I try to do something every day, whether it be physical or digital.
So, but in the beginning, you were only working digitally. Were you doing it every day then?
Yeah, I was doing it every day.
So you were trying and like what was the smallest amount of time? I always feel like we got to know what the smallest
I
amount
don't
of
know that
time
I
is.
could put time on it, but I would just, the minimum would be one.
But
Because
like 1 minute?
no one collage.
Okay, but like if somebody's like, I can't, right? Because I feel like both of us have said, I can't do that. I can't. It's like, okay, well, what if you just put 3 layers on each day?
Maybe half an hour if I did quickly, an hour if it was more intense, if things didn't flow the way I wanted them to.
So my one thing is that and you have to know yourself. Do have to try different things. But when I can draw at night, but I cannot do like do the cut paper because I get too excited and then I can't fall asleep. So I have to make sure that I'm not doing the thing that really gets me in a flow state late because I need to sleep.
Well, it relaxes me too.
Okay.
So, where if I were probably doing the physical collage, I would be in that state where I wouldn't be able to stop. But with the digital, I can put it away.
Well, and so okay, so you recently when you moved into this house, which wasn't super recent, but you've recently cleaned and organized. How does that make a difference? And how often are you organizing your files for that Adobe stock thing?
Not as often as I should, but I try to do that. I try to do all of it at least go through it, at least the digital once a month. This, I kind of, you
Oh, it's closer.
can see the stuff on the floor.
Yes. It's still
Okay.
pretty clean there though, Anne.
So, yeah, but I also,
Lots of little containers that are for, like, how do you break those up? Like, are some blue? Are they done by color or are they done by topic
kind of topic,
or size?
that topic and size, like for instance, I don't use these very often, but this one's all type.
Oh, okay.
So if I were to open this and like, there's some of those things I cut up.
Oh, yeah. What are this? Reinforcers, right? They're called
Oh,
reinforcers, the
yeah, but
round ones.
they're just stickers.
Yeah, but the round ones were called reinforcers.
Then, you know,
Oh, yeah, I love those numbers. But you're specifically buying things that are ephemera or older looking.
mhm.
Oh, yeah, look at those. Amy would like those.
So, and then,
Okay.
so that's kind of what's in here. And there's all different sizes and stuff like that. So it's kind of broken up like that. Some of
Okay.
them are broken up based on the transparency.
Okay. That would
Some
be
of them are,
helpful.
some of them are shiny transparent and some of them are not. So it depends on, I've working with this, I realized that the ones that aren't shiny, um, you can't, or it interferes if you go back over it with us with a stencil. It doesn't look as well. So you gotta kind of have to plan it.
Okay, so how we know how often you're making them. The goal was never to sell them or even to show them. You have put some in a faculty show and some are in the cancer center, I think at BCU where they were for a while, which I think is great because it was a healing part for you. I also think so you've found ways to share them without selling them. But I still would like you to make some that you could share and sell because I would like to buy some. What about have you transitioned into that or does that even like it just is too much, I'm just going to keep making and I'm not going to worry about selling or making a book with these or anything like that?
No, I'm thinking about that. Like I'm really exploring that because I enjoy doing it. I don't intend to stop. And so, if I can do that, and you've inspired me to start creating my own ephemera, like my backgrounds. Like, I've ordered some paint and some brushes, and so I'm gonna try to make some uh, just basic textures where I can scan them in and use them.
So well, that's good, I'm glad. I think that one thing I take from this is that it doesn't always have to have a purpose. And actually, you've had 2 years, maybe 2.5 years of making that now you're starting to think about having things to sell or make using the things that you could. But now you've had 2 years of working daily. You know how to make decisions or you've come to grips with the intuitive side and because you've made so many, they're not so precious of this has to be perfect. Like I think that like that one book was the first time you had struggled in a while.
Yeah.
But I think you did two things. You did a theme and you did a bigger book. So I always am like, okay, well, one change one thing at a time. Yeah. Um, I just want this because this really, to me, this is the hardest thing for me to get across is that just make it, Diane. Don't worry about it. Just make it. So make it shifting your mindset because we're designers and we do things and we make money with our art. How was it easy for you to just start making and not and to turn that?
It actually was.
Okay.
And I guess it was just because I found the switch kicked on for me where I can do this for me. And this is something I enjoy and something that I can escape to. Um,
Mm.
and I would escape. I would literally escape. It would just be like nothing else mattered.
Mm.
Um,
Okay. Well, you got to answer one more question. I think you're going to pull something up, maybe, or maybe hold it up. What has been your favorite collage that you've created so far? And can you even answer that? Is that like saying, what's your favorite color today? Or what's your favorite typeface?
And you put it on I sent it to you.
Oh,
I don't even have it up. I'm just like, I
it
don't
was
even,
one. It was one of the ones from the
yeah, it was one of the ones you put on the,
uh,
the green one.
oh, okay. The with the 15 or with the pink
But
swash.
both of those are good, but there was another one that was a little more
Oh,
hunter.
okay. I have that one, I think. Let me share my screen. Let's
And
see.
that's just for now. Like when you asked me to pull my favorite, I was like, I can't do this. And I know those other ones
Can
were
you
yours.
guys, is this one it?
Yeah.
So I my
And that
computer's.
one's yours is right there on the bottom. You like that
I
one?
love this one. I just think this is this looks like the beginning of a movie or something Paul could use for a book cover. Like it is so juicy to me. But one thing I do love about this, I love the texture on top. I love that there's this white space, you know, what we always think, but then there's this real texture here that I can see that this looks like a real piece and I see it here and I see this tape. I don't know. I love collage because of the stories. And I
Mm.
love the contrast with this. Everything's so, I love that. They just, they are story instigators for me. And I love hearing stories. So that's why I think I love collage. But I was talking about these two also.
Mhm. Those are your favorites. I know. I know the one with the pink you really liked.
Yeah, it was just so, one thing I
That,
love,
that first one, the one that's so dark, that was the very first one. So
this
that's
dark
the
one
one.
right here.
Yeah, so that's why I sent you that one because it was the very first one I ever did.
And it's really, there's a lot of type and texture in there.
But it just
Again,
shows you the dark place I was in.
yeah. All right. Well, so I want to make sure I share all of the ways that people can get in touch with you. And she is, all of these will be at the top if you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on wherever you get your podcasts. But you can follow her. Her website is chambers-design.com. And then on Instagram, she is Ann Ford, ANNFORD 6462. I don't know what the 6462 means, but you don't have to tell us that. Maybe that's your pin for your computer or for your, what do you call that? Your debit card? I'm just kidding. It's what?
It's not my debit card.
Okay, good. So then I was like trying to find her on LinkedIn and I just typed in Ann Ford and that's like some yoga lady. But if you go to LinkedIn, you can go to linkedin.com/in/Chambers Design. And Chambers was your maiden name, right?
Right.
And then you can email Ann at ann.ford, ANN.ford at chambers-design.com. And what's next? I'm not still sharing my screen, right?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm just going to continue work
And continue to collect. Do you often like go to garage sales or how do you get your ephemera?
Sometime I just order it from Temu. Like I just order paper that's kind of made into collage and then I rip it up.
So
And
then
that's what I'm using for the physical. I don't use it for the digital.
who's your type? You got some stuff he was doing
from Who's Your Type. And then I got a big box of ephemera from someone local in Petersburg, um, and sometimes it's just stuff that I have. Like I have collected ephemera from everywhere,
right.
every travel I've been on, right? So those I'll probably want to scan,
Yeah.
but I've got so much of it. I need to do something with it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Ann, sharing today, I hope that my hope is that somebody who's hearing, maybe they have fatty liver disease, or maybe they've just been told they had NASH. You didn't go through weight loss surgery. You did it all on your own. You had a great doctor who really fought to make you not feel like you were crazy. And that you got to keep searching for answers. And there's always going to be things that come up that are going to make it hard. But you are such a fighter. And man, that is your story. Like whatever we're talking about, you always are a fighter.
So women, listen to your body and don't listen to the doctors until, keep pushing till you find out what's going on. Before it's too late, pretty much.
And then when you have to, when you do share something that makes you feel uncomfortable or vulnerable, why do you think that helps it feels really crappy at first, I think, but, when you do something and you share, even it's hard for you when you did the first little show, you were like, I don't even want to show these collages, right?
Right.
It's like baby steps of talking about something or sharing something. I think, it's hard to show your sketchbook the first time because you think you're going to get judged,
Right. And it's like, I just don't, one, I didn't know why anybody would want to hear my story. And two, I didn't think they were all that great either. I mean, I was just like doing it for me. I wasn't really looking for feedback or, anything like that. So.
Well, it's a great story, and I'm really glad you shared it. And next week, we are back to product design, and we are going to finish out the rest of the year with product design. We are not doing one on the day before Thanksgiving. But other than that, we have, we go through the first week of December, and it's product design, product design, product design. These next two are more what maybe, I don't know. I don't know what typical product design is. These are not physical products. These are people designing things on the computer, and they would have that title as product designer. And I'm excited because they've busted some things, and not busted, not like they created a bomb or anything. I mean, like they were a traditional designer, and then they just were started designing these things, and then somebody called it product design, and then they're like, well, I was a web designer or something, but you're really blazing a trail, I think. So I hope you guys will join me next week, next Wednesday, normal time, no time changes anymore. We're done with the time changes. The British people are all back to normal, non-British summer time. It's back to GMT. I don't remember what GMT stands for. I always want to say Greenwich Mountain Time, but I know that is not what it is. I don't know where I came up with this. Anyway, it's not what it is. I am tired, and I am hopefully gonna finish grading today. How about you, Ann? What are you gonna do?
Might go do some collage.
Okay, good. I want to do some art stuff this weekend. I don't want to grade anymore. I hope you guys have a great day, and thank you so much. Is it Greenwich Mean Time? I just get pulling my leg there, Amy? Are you just making? Probably. I don't remember what it is. So says it is.
So says Google.
So then I'm not crazy. I think that's weird though, a little bit. I don't know. Whatever. Greenwich Mean Time. I feel like that's they're pulling our leg because I don't know. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.